Anarchy is defined as a state of order due to the absence or non-recognition of authority. Throughout the centuries, it has graced its presence in many forms, from the fields of England to the streets of France. It has become synonymous with failed states and just generally hell on earth. Now, why the fuck am I telling you this? Because the aspects of anarchy are not just limited to the real world, but they also apply to the world of gaming. In this new series that I've been working on, we'll be diving into what many have been calling the definition of anarchy in the gaming world, the Minecraft server named 2 Builders 2 Tools, or 2B2T. Yes, we're going to be talking about the 2B2T, one of the oldest running servers in Minecraft history, with no rules, no world resets, a chaotic fan base, and a history spanning an entire decade with multiple eras to cover. From the uncertainty, fear, and chaos of the age of Unrest to the prosperous 2B2T that we know today. I'll try to cover everything in detail, but if I miss anything, let's get a discussion going in the comments below. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Okay, before we jump into 2B2T's early years, let's go over some things first. So I actually got the idea to make this video from an Instagram post talking about 2B2T, and from then on, I've been fascinated with the history, culture, and style of this server. It is really unique, and I decided to make this documentary covering everything because the server has such a rich history, it's comparable to studying human history itself. Now, I'm pretty sure if you clicked on this video, you already are familiar with Minecraft, but for those of you who don't know, it's a block-based building and digging sandbox game that over the past decade has become a worldwide phenomenon, with millions of players, merch, spin-off, and everything in between. Now, one thing you can do in Minecraft to connect with other players is creating a server, which allows either friends or random people from across the planet a place to hang out in this randomly generated world. There are many different types of Minecraft servers, but the one we care about is the Anarchy type. Anarchy servers are places where there's literally no rules. None of them apply. None at all. Zero. The sky is the limit with these things, as you can't get banned for hacking or doing anything offensive or destructive, which often means that people can get very outrageous on these things. And this is where 2B2T's story starts. The 2B2T story begins in 2010 when two mysterious Minecraft accounts by the name of Housemaster and George Bush 420 created the server 2 Builders 2 Tools on December 17th of that year, based on their old Anarchy server in Gary's mod. And as a side note before we move on, the name 2 Builders 2 Tools is based on an even older server they had on Team Fortress 2 named 2 Fort 2 Furious, which was a nod to the movie Too Fast 2 Furious. Another thing I gotta mention is the fact that discussing the early years of 2B2T is another affair, because just like studying Viking history, no one really fully bothered to document what was going on. However, that doesn't mean we're at a loss though, as some scraps of forum posts, videos, images, and players writing their memoirs about their experience definitely helps to paint a picture. The majority of players that played on 2B2T in its infancy were from the popular website 4chan, and it is well known that because the server was being regularly advertised on there, that it almost became the premier server for Minecraft users on 4chan. Although other websites had sizable populations of users on there, such as websites like Facepunch and Reddit. But it's very important not to underestimate how much influence 4chan had on the server, with a lot of the images, videos, and stories coming from 4chan users, like Pyromaniac, who claims to have an account detailing how spawn area got to its disheveled state.
So in the first couple of days, most of the damage done to spawn was from creepers. There were a lot of mobs around at that point in time, and lots of nakeds, because advertising on a Chan board, you just get loads and loads of people visiting, especially V at that time, which is, you know, the center of the Minecraft community, along with a couple of small forums. But basically, you know, the game was very popular on that board, and as for the server, you just get 50, 60 people joining at a time. So pretty much wrecked straight away, lava casts, creeper holes everywhere.
But this would only be the beginning of 4chan's misadventures on 2B2T, of course. Being the majority group, they ended up shaping the server in their image, bringing a lot of their culture from the forums to 2B2T. And of course, if anyone knows 4chan, especially back in those days, you know that they were a force to be reckoned with, and eventually ended up corrupting the player's server data, blacklisting the server. And soon their actions led them to clash with another major faction, named the Facepunch Republic. The Facepunch Republic were a series of large bases united under a single nation and flag based off their home site Facepunch, under the leadership of an account named Chezhead. Chezhead created a post on the Facepunch forum advertising 2B2T, and his fellow forum users quickly jumped on. However, when they arrived, they found that conditions were dreadful, as they were unprepared for the dangers of the server, and found themselves under constant attack. Despite this though, the group persevered and grew large enough to start organizing themselves, and after moving to another council, began the creation of their new republic. The Facepunch Republic soon became a confederacy, with hierarchy being set up like this. At the head was the president, who could propose laws and enforce them. Then there was the mayors, who of course enforced the laws and governed the citizens. And then of course lastly there were citizens, who of course were mostly just builders and miners who gathered resources for the republic. Although, one thing to keep in mind is the fact that despite Chez being named the president, his position was more like a king or Roman emperor, because his office was very vulnerable and kind of weak, as his power only came from the trust his constituents put into him. In an interview with the YouTube channel FazVincent1, Chezhead gives the state of the republic in the beginning.
Can you go into detail about the history of the Facepunchers?
Yeah, so do you know much about Facepunch, like the forum?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a gaming forum based around Gary's Mod and Rust, but it was a really big place for early Minecraft, right? There was like Minecraft general threads. There'd just be like one thread and it'd just be about Minecraft. And you show your bases and everything. Like back, I played Alpha and everything, and people were showing off to like their spleef arenas and all that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this forum called Games in Progress, which was primarily for people that were making servers and then wanted other Facepunchers to join. So for instance, if there was a cool Minecraft server that I made, I could have other Facepunchers join, and they would whitelist by posting in the thread. And so you would have this kind of idea of like, people would post in the thread and say, I want to be whitelisted, and then you'd whitelist them. And if they screwed something up, if you like griefed you or something, then you'd post in the thread saying, hey, like Chezhead griefed my server or something, right? And so you kind of had this community of trust. And then so people within the Facepunch community, not just the Minecraft Facepunch community, would know that you're an asshole. And so it's kind of, that was kind of the way that the Facepunch worked, right?
Yeah.
So I made a thread on the first thread about 2B2T on the Games in Progress forum, just saying it was like 2B2T on the shoulders of giants or something. I posted like maybe 10 pictures and kind of a little bit philosophical about it, and encouraged other people to join it. I was just kind of trying to show off a cool thing. And then so sure enough, more and more people come on, and then we're kind of making this little base. We get griefed, and we go on to another base and get griefed. And it worked out really well because you would like only whitelist people if they were on Facepunch before the thread existed, right? And they had maybe like 300 posts or something. And so no one wanted to ruin their Minecraft Facepunch reputation by griefing the base or leaking cords or something like that. And so you had this really nice web of trust. And so then we had our little bases, like 4 creations in the corner, 2K, that kind of stuff. And at some point, little spin-offs would happen because people that were like, let's say Swedes or something, you had like a group of like 10 of them, they would also join, and they'd all get whitelisted, all they kind of get in this thread. And they would have their own base that was like loosely Facepunch affiliated. And if someone from Facepunch really wanted to know where it was and kind of begged enough for the coordinates, they'd probably give it to them. But you understand what I mean by this kind of web of trust, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's kind of when it kind of splintered off into, it was all under Facepunch, but you couldn't trust everyone, right? Someone could just make an account and then try to get whitelisted into these different, like get the cords for different bases, but only if they got trusted. And so that's kind of where it went. It was never like, I tried to kind of keep a cohesive vision for it. Like I was like the mayor and I tried to make little politics and everything. But in the end, it ended up being just a republic where I was like the most trusted guy that had all the cords for all the bases. And so I could like kind of resolve disputes a little bit and like lead people over to certain bases if I thought they could do help there. So yeah, it was just a republic at that point. And at some point, I think I got like busy with school or something, or left it.
Now, it wouldn't take long for the 4chaners to get wind of what was going on and soon began a griefing campaign across the Republic, beginning the Facepunch War. The conflict was a devastating one for the server and its players, with many of 2B2T's early iconic forts being griefed into oblivion, and the Facepunch Republic getting the brunt of the blow. Tensions inside the Republic escalated when it was discovered higher-ups in the government began betraying their Facepunch comrades by leaking building coordinates for griefing or by griefing themselves, causing more destabilization.
What was the history of the Facepunch War?
I didn't like think about it as like a war. It's more just like there's you versus the griefers, right?
Mm.
So a little bit of strategy you'd have from this is that anytime anyone would get any coordinates, they just go to them. So you had to have if you had a group of 10 people, you had to have absolute trust within those, because one of these people, a single one person could type 2 digits, could type 2 numbers into the chat or something, and it'd be the nuclear option. Your entire base would be destroyed forever and ever, and these codes would be written down, right? And so that's kind of when I think of the war, I just think of a period of mistrust where it got popular enough that people would start kind of getting into some of the bases and then just leak the codes for the lulz. So you'd have Facepunchers, maybe 5 years older than us naive grade school kids or whatever. They kind of just socialize their way into these kind of things and then just kind of get the codes and tell their buddies hey, we can take this base, watch these babies cry, that kind of thing, right? And so I think it wasn't like a war necessarily, as it was just how I understand it is just people just taking advantage of the situation to do some lulz, cause some chaos, watch some kids get butthurt, that kind of thing. So yeah, that concept of this mutual trust is really important, I think, in the 2v2t. Anyone could just ruin an entire base just by knowing its location, just by knowing 2 words, 2 digits. It's insane, yeah.
Ches had tried to take control of the situation by beginning a project named Arsenal, which was the process of using both mob grinders and the old piston duplication glitch to equip his players for combat. However, this would unfortunately for them be a humongous waste of time, because in the ensuing Battle of Great Skull Stand, the Facepunchers were massacred by the hacked back 4chaners, including Ches Head himself, and soon proved to be the beginning of the end for the Facepunch Republic. In an attempt to stay alive, they adopted a kill on sight mentality, where Facepunchers would kill anyone who posed a threat to the Republic's safety. Kinda an extreme solution, to be honest, but they feel like they did have their backs against the wall, so what you gonna do? In the end though, this only caused the nation to be more alienated from other users, and combined with many other weaknesses, caused the Facepunch Republic to officially dissolve by February 2012, ending one of the best factions in 2b2t's history, and signaling the end of an era on the server. And the story is quite sad when you think about it. All that Ches wanted to do was create a place for peaceful anarchy, but his plans were quickly dashed and only led to his nation being the sick man of the server. Despite this though, the Facepunch Republic has left behind a legacy that was unmatched at the time. They were one of the first organized groups to use the old piston duplication glitch, and some of the most iconic forts were built by them and can still be viewed today as ruins.
What bases were the most memorable during the Facepunch era?
Creationism Corner, that is absolutely the most memorable. I don't really remember any of the other ones, but I think Creationism Corner mostly because I spent most of my time there. That was the first time where everything kind of got up. I made a little YouTube video about it, and I still sometimes in my dreams or whatever, I can kind of imagine walking through it, my little secret hole beneath this pond of water and everything, a little farm, the main entrance area. And then after that, there's one I don't remember the name of, that we just kind of found this base that was pretty cool underground, and we just kind of took it over and modified it a little bit. It was this underground little, I don't know how to describe it. It was pretty cool, but Creations of Corner really was the big one. Maybe 2K2K, but Creations of Corner was the biggest one.
The leftover Facepunchers would soon find themselves assimilating into other groups or going solo. Some of them bringing Facepunch culture with them, with many nations and factions later on in TB2T's lifespan either modeling themselves after the Old Republic or borrowing other elements from it. TB2T would continue to grow at this time, creating new factions such as Emperador's group, known for their lavish and impressive builds such as a large Jesus statue at their base. There was also the Brotherhood of Diamond, who spent their time aiding new players by giving them diamonds at spawn, but would soon be disbanded after having multiple bases griefed and being mistaken by other groups. And they also did leave their mark on the server with their iconic forts, such as a couple of ones we have here, such as 8000 based, Diamond Town, and their final base being made on a mushroom biome, where soon afterwards it was banned by all players. One of the biggest events to be completed in the server's early years was done by a group named Judge's Group, named after the leader Judge Holden, who alongside other players ventured over 1 million blocks from spawn, becoming famous for being one of the first players to ever do so, and created a base to protect themselves from the horrors of spawn called the 1 million base, as well as another one called Shit City.
History at 1 Mil Town.
I was invited by JDW and Electroff. I was crashing at their base for a while. I think it was after one of my bases got griefed. And yeah, I was crashing with them because they were close by. And they told me they were heading to 1 million. I thought they were just joking, because at the time going to 1 million was insane. It was just not something plausible. But yeah, they did. They invited me. I took the secret highway there. Like, just the up and down stairways and nether tunnels made me like physically ill, and I barely got there with enough food. And yeah, I was there, and I knew there was something fishy just because, like, at the time, I think it was Omelix who started it. He invited sort of like a lot of the big names on 2B2T, quote unquote, just guys who were like you would recognize in chat and who've done sort of notable things, I guess. I knew they had like Chris Laketon, XOXP, DSG, got a lot of old guys. And yeah, I knew it was just like a clash of personalities, and I knew it wouldn't last long. So yeah, I remember snatching a bunch of diamonds that was stolen off Shogun. And yeah, XOXP briefed the base, and that's pretty much it.
And if you want to learn more about their journey, you can actually visit the link in the description below to a comic made by Judge himself detailing the events. Maybe it could be the subject of a future video. Anyways, I digress. Their base would not be around for much longer due to, griefing. Which, to be honest, by this point, you should just expect it to be sick constantly, because it's only going to get worse and worse as we go on. Anyways, in the last of the early years of 2B2T, with the absence of the Facepunchers, large amounts of the game's player base would be mostly griefers, and soon they would form their own factions to wage war on one another. The most well known at the time being the Pylandia and the Viking, who are mostly known for their raid on a forgotten base named -400-800, owned by a player named XCC2, which was raided multiple times before quickly falling into obscurity. Now, to say that 2B2T's early years were turbulent would be the understatement of the century. Keep in mind, while all these conflicts are going on, there are still players just trying to do their own thing, but the constant warfare and griefing made it pretty much impossible to avoid being caught in the crossfire, and no one was truly safe, which is the reason why this era is often referred to in the community as the Age of Unrest. However, it was in the chaos that 2B2T would make a place for itself in Minecraft history, changing forever. But that doesn't mean that we're done here. 2B2T would soon find itself with some major changes that put it in a very precarious spot, leading to a period of great decay. But that is the story for another time.